Almost live. Oh, here we go. And we are live with another real estate roundup or real estate ramblings. Some days it's rambling, some days it's roundup, some days it's market update.
Yeah. It just, I guess, depends how we're feeling. If we're rambling or if it's a roundup.
That's right. Okay, so I've got the conch this time around, I guess.
B's got the conch. That's right.
Yeah, welcome everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Dan, you are in. It looks like you're in Forest Lawn or something.
Yeah, I'm in the Forest Lawn of Phoenix. Yeah, you see behind me.
Yeah, that's tough. How's the weather? Looks like a torrential downpour. Any imminent? No, like how is it?
Exactly. Yeah. No, there was 3 millimeters of rain last night, so they're overwhelmed here. It's no, it's beautiful. It's I guess, for Phoenix, I don't expect it to be cool, but it is in the mornings. It's just, you can see I'm wearing a sweater today, so just my inexperience with the desert. It is what it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So today we want to we're gonna just touch on a few topics. One is kind of just a quick market update on the real estate market in Calgary. Number two is some anecdotal sort of kind of discussions about out of province investors and their level of activity as they look into Calgary still, and then maybe a third we can kind of choose our own adventure on the third one. So I want to regarding kind of how the market is, how is the market right now? What are you guys feeling right now?
The market is still, I think, in my opinion, it's still like super tight. The market update, and I'll just try and bring up some numbers that I was reviewing this morning. It was maybe not surprising, and it's a continuing story that we've been telling for the last year. Sales year over year, sales are up close to 40%. Unfortunately, listings aren't up the same. They're up about 15%. So, it's like twice as many homes are selling as new listings coming on. So still super tight conditions in the market in every sector, I would say. Every sector.
Yeah. I'm noticing the condo market is starting to, it's really coming up, and we've talked about this in the last several months. It's been affected and it's coming up. I feel like land is actually the most active area right now, as well. I think that's seen the most appreciation, and when I say land, I'm kind of referring to plots of inner city lots. It's just the demand for this is just kind of skyrocketing, and as people on the ground in Calgary, of the audience, I'm sure there's a lot of Calgarians, but there's a lot of people outside of Calgary as well. I would say that there's a lot of shovels in the ground. There's a lot of houses being torn down, and new multifamily product is being actually built, and which is amazing. And so lots that, let's say in Boness, where we several years ago we gave valuations of $300,000 or $400,000, are now selling for probably $700,000 or higher, depending on kind of where the lot is situated. Any other kind of comments on kind of what you guys are feeling about the market?
Well, I think that that again, the CMHC, MLS Select programs drives up a good chunk of that. And we've repeated that comment a few times, but that seems to be the hot spot in the market. I guess all development land seems to be hot right now. You're right, Michael, but that seems to be driving it. There is that the blanket rezoning that's coming up, and that might be something to touch on as well. I don't know how that's going to affect the demand. It'll be curious to see how that affects the demand for land going forward. If you can build anything anywhere, I'm exaggerating, but if you can build anything anywhere, what does that do to the value of land that is multifamily land?
Yeah.
when everything is going to be multifamily for them. I'd be curious to see.
It's from an investor or a current landowner standpoint, property owner. I think you're kind of implying that it is probably going to have a depressive effect on prices, on values.
Well, if you currently have a lot that has potential for multifamily,
yep,
and now so just the law of scarcity, and now you can build multifamily on almost any lot.
yep.
Then what's going to happen to the value of my multi-lot?
Sure. Yep.
Yep. I'd be curious to see. I hope that doesn't go through. It's good to see Daniel, the Calgary Real Estate position on that. I'm really happy to see that. I'll probably chime in on it. So.
Yeah, I know that at the Calgary Real Estate Board, they have a very engaged government relations team there, consisting of staff and members. And I was pleased to see that go out as well.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a bit of tension, right? Like it's kind of like finding that happy balance between, really significantly and urgently addressing like housing affordability issues, but without having the pendulum swing so far the other way that it just completely screws up the market. Like, is that kind of like the tension? That seems like the tension, right?
If I may, I think that the proposed blanket rezoning is very foolishly implemented or being foolishly implemented. It doesn't have any. The best developments are contextual developments, and this is not contextual at all. It's going to have a negative effect on communities, in my opinion. And I've talked to some of the most respected planners in the city, and they're like just scratching their heads, saying, "Well, what the heck? Doesn't make any sense." The federal government is providing, it's like a carrot. They're providing money, but it's not even a lot of money. Like I think. I don't know, Vancouver gets something like 60 million.
Yeah.
Which for a city like Vancouver's size, is almost meaningless.
Yeah.
I don't know how much Calgary's going to get, but it's going to be probably in the range of, half of that, maybe 30. And what kind of, how is that going to affect the quality of life in our city? It's not going to help. It's not going to provide affordable housing. Because when they knock down, all these bungalows to build 8 suiters, my experience is that those 8 suiters come on the market they're not affordable housing.
Yeah, we're seeing like $600,000 to $800,000 townhouses.
Yeah, I think to your point there, Dad, the product that's being built that would be built under that blanket rezoning, it's not affordable housing. It's either it'll be purpose-built rentals, or it's a 4 or an 8-plex, and those are, or even if it's a duplex. That you are maybe doubling the supply, but the supply is in a much higher price bracket. It's not in a price bracket where affordable housing consumers are competing.
Yeah, you're knocking down a house, let's say that, a bungalow that has a suite in the basement or 2, where, you used to rent it out to a student for whatever, $1,000, $1,500 a month. Now you're going to build new product there. You're going to have to get more than that for the cost of development. So you're really knocking down affordable housing and transplanting, unaffordable new development into it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope it doesn't go through. Anybody that's listening, call me if you want some background on it, because I think I'm going to be pretty active in fighting against it.
Yeah. And if anyone's listening that owns inner city lots that had very low valuations 5-6 years ago, don't hesitate to give us a call, and we can give you a recent and revised valuation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike Stante, how from your perspective, how's the market been?
It seems pretty brisk. The few listings that I'm looking at bringing on in the next couple of weeks, they all seem to be in segments of the market, areas of the city that just don't have any other competing. They don't have any competition. So there's a relatively affordable condo in Varsity that is coming on this week for, a few months ago in September, October of last year, we were talking about maybe 230, 40, maybe 250. But I think we're going to list it today, I think, for 275 because it's better than everything else that's in there. And the stuff that's selling is there's a real absence of other available markets or other available products. So yeah, that owner saw a real jump in value in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
A townhome in Inglewood that I'm going to go look at today that I think is going to be a really good option for somebody, but has also come a long ways in the value that I would have given it 6 or 8 months ago. So,
yeah.
And then on the buy side too, it still is, I think to Dan's point, I looked at the stats too, and like the statistics are all going the wrong way for affordability. So the number of sales are up, the number of active listings are down, the number of pendings are up, the average price is up, the median price is up, the days on market is down. Like it's everything is pointing to tighter and tighter market that is going to make it more and more difficult for buyers. So I do have some hope that in a maybe better interest rate environment, some buyers come back into the market that were holding off for a little while. My concern is that if there is then another flood, the spring market hits, there's more stuff on the market, they flood into the market, those buyers that are ready now, and there's something to buy, it just tightens everything back up again, and we're back to where we are today. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be an interesting March, April, May here.
Yeah. And Dan, what from your standpoint, what are some strategies that work with buyers in such a tight market? Let's say buyers that are looking at detached homes, which is kind of the hottest segment right now still.
I think that it's what's key is for the agent being involved, the buyer's agent, to maintain like such close communication with the listing agents, to know what's going on, to know the landscape, to try and just position their clients in the best light where possible. And sometimes you might be able to get in advance of, for example, a presentation date and kind of put a bully offer in. So I think that's key. Having all your ducks in a row helps, right? I mean, having all your financing as close to approved as possible. Having a decent understanding of the homes in terms of like what is going to come up in an inspection in a home of that era. If it's in the 60s and 70s, maybe asbestos. If it's in the 80s and 90s, maybe it's a poly B issue. Just having a good awareness of kind of construction techniques and advising your clients that those kind of things could come up and how to mitigate them. So
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments, any other topics that we should touch on, or should we keep it short and sweet today?
Well, let's move on. Are we on part 2 yet, or are we on to part 3?
We actually, give us Dan. One of the additional things was, you talking about a developer that was fielding out of province investors inquiries and sales, several years in advance.
I was just talking to a multifamily developer, and he's saying that they're still seeing like around 70% of their buyers coming from Ontario. Whether it's to live here or to rent out, it's just such an affordable option for folks in Ontario. And he commented that one of his colleagues in the development business is selling buildings with possessions as far out as 2029. And in fact, that particular developer does not even have a salesperson in Calgary. They specifically target Toronto and Ontario buyers. I think they have a couple salespeople out there. So it's just interesting to see how the market has shifted and where people are coming from.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, isn't it? That these pre-sale, it's kind of an Ontario, a Toronto thing, where the market's been going up there for so long. that you just, whatever pre-sale you buy, you're almost guaranteed to make some money on it before you take possession. So that's become they've kind of a game in and of itself, where people just keep buying and flipping these properties. But it's kind of a game of I don't know, like last one standing. I wouldn't call it a Ponzi scheme, but it almost feels like that. When go ahead.
Sorry, no. Well, actually, what I was going to say, Sano, was okay. So we're talking about this, kind of almost being an insider. You got to have connections, and got to have the inside track on these sales that are, of these new developments that are, going to be finally completed in 2028, 2029. And yet CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association, has just come out with rules that govern us, saying like we cannot market, we cannot mention any coming soon listing beyond 3 days in advance. And so I'm just thinking there's such a disconnect, right? Am I wrong? Is that it's kind of in the same realm, at least?
Well, sure, it's a good point. Yeah.
A little bit. I think the challenge is that people can buy those units today, right? Like they are for sale. They just won't take possession for 5 years. But
I guess
I think that when I look at that as a buyer, geez, that seems risky. It seems risky, but maybe they're buying at today's prices and anticipating that they're going to get the lift of 5 years of market growth. And
I would really like to see the fine print of that contract. There are, I would be amazed if there are not, escalation clauses in there that the contractor could, has a right to, add whatever escalation clauses, that are within or without of his control. You've got to, if I was a contractor, I would have to have that in there.
Yeah.
If I'm not completing until 2029, how do I know the cost of drywall in 29? How do I know the cost of cement? It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of a fool's game, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Good point. I like it. Guys, any other things we want to touch on, or I think, we kept it to about 20 minutes. This is 18 minutes, I think.
That's pretty good. We're getting better.
I think short and sharp is great.
All right.
Put a bow on it, and Dan will see you back next week, I guess. And Dad and Michael will see you both around town.
All right.
Sounds
Take
good.
care, guys.
All right.
Okay.
See you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.